yeah. Oh yeah. Hi everyone, Big Thinny Dad Tano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of this new Slipknot album, The End So Far. This is a brand new LP from new and alt-metal legend Slipknot, their 7th LP to date, which follows up 2019's We Are Not Your Kind, which I actually thought was one of the band's better and most adventurous records in a while. They drifted away from their typical sound on a handful of tracks, that kind of paid off, and I was hoping to hear their ambitions expand a bit more on this new LP too. And yeah, they do that, for better and for worse. I mean, these subtle changes do lead to moments like the CHAPELTOWN Rag, where we hear a song that sounds like some old school Slipknot, but bright and revitalized. The riffs and hyper-aggressive drums and turntable scratches and monstrous screams the band built their brand on are now being laced with blast beats, tremolo pick guitars, some soaring, sinister vocal harmonies too, kick-ass tune as well, and the whole Slipknot instrumental arsenal comes out as well on the Dying song, which is great because on some LPs post-Iowa, I think the band struggled a little bit to sound as huge, as grand as they had on previous releases. This thirst for something new and grand also causes the band to create the very extreme Hive mind, where the drums are even more insane and topped with these snarling, revving guitar riffs that have almost a djenty quality to them. And Corey Taylor's writing on this track is actually kind of impressive in terms of the levels of mockery and seething anger he's engaged in. You're such a tortured soul, but I don't want to hear about it. You say you're not involved, but all you do is talk about it. Not to mention the little epic choral synthetic bits that pop into the mix on the back end of the track that elevate it quite a bit. And as long as I'm talking about the band dipping their toes into dark and dynamic ideas, I would be remiss if I didn't bring up Acidic, which is a tortured, dark 90s alt-rock and metal mourner along the lines of like Stone Temple Pilots combined with Nine Inch Nails. And it gets kind of sick around the midpoint when the band really starts jamming on the whole thing. But by that same token, there are quite a few moments on this LP where Slipknot ventures into the unknown and they come up empty-handed. Like the intro track, Adderall, which I still cannot believe, despite having listened to it multiple times, is an actual Slipknot song on an actual Slipknot album and not just some kind of mistake like this just got swapped in last minute, right? And it's not so much what this song doesn't sound like, Slipknot. It's really more about what it does sound like. If you have a friend that plays in an easy listening prog rock band that gets a little buzzed before their performance at the local Renaissance Fair, you're about in the realm of where this intro track is at. Not only does this genre do nothing for Slipknot, it's also vice versa, because the band really lacks the finesse to pull off something like this in a convincing way. The drum parts are really basic, the plotting bass line is boring, the very thin, hollow keys and chord progressions are bland and uninteresting. You have those kind of droning, strumming acoustic guitars hanging in the background, not really adding too much. Plus, Corey is not bringing his cleanest vocal performance to date either, especially on those harmonies. The eerie melodrama takes a different shape on the song Yen, where we get some pretty ominous and murky verses that aren't too bad, but the transition into these heavy riff passages on the chorus is hard and aggressive and also lacking in any kind of, subtlety, which I get it. I guess that's not really Slipknot's bag. This is also proven on the track Medicine for the Dead, which sounds like Slipknot trying their hand at a Tool-style psychedelic raga with a few Metallica Black Album licks thrown in here and there. And yeah, performance-wise, the results on this one are pretty lacking as well. Plus, the sour descending vocal harmonies on the chorus sound like nails on a goddamn chalkboard. Your condition is a symptom, we'll have to give you medicine for the dead. Case in point, this record's lowest moments are truly where it's also at its most annoying, like Heirloom. Why does this track sound like a bad Disturbed song? The over-the-top edginess of Warranty combined with lyrics on the track that sound like something you would come up with while turning beet red in the returns line at Walmart. Yeah, this is kind of a recipe for cringe. But the biggest disappointment on this LP is really the last leg, where I think this record pulls out some of its weakest material. Hell possibly has the goofiest chorus and refrain on the entire project. One of us knows who hates me. One of us loves it. Why even present this guessing game if either way you cut it, you get a typical Slipknot track topic? The instrumental does go kind of hard though. And on the last track, Finale, those prog ballad vibes come back in a big way. And yeah, for another attempt, Slipknot doesn't do a whole lot with this sound. Though in some ways I do think they take a more gradual approach on the guitars and drums, and I am liking that. However, I can't ignore the continued usage of like the turntable scratching at inappropriate times, or times that just don't make all that much sense in a song. Just kind of hitting very lightly along the mid-paced groove line of this track. It just feels off. On top of that, why do the turntables hit these tracks with like the same scratchy white noise texture every single time? Can we not like work in a scream or like a horn sample? Can we not scratch on something else? But if that doesn't annoy you, the inclusion of these like choral bits on top of the instrumental certainly will. Yet another moment on this LP where it thinks it sounds more epic than it actually does. And maybe that's truly the worst thing about this LP. In its worst moments, it thinks it sounds more brooding and epic than it actually does. But when it's looking to just kind of kick ass and throw out a rager, man, it's on a tear. But sadly, across this track list, the songs that I really truly loved and enjoyed were more the exception than the rule. I do not enjoy this one as much as I did Slipknot's Last, but still, I'll take the CHAPELTOWN rag with me. Most definitely Hive Mind too. I'm feeling a decent 2 strong 4 on this one. Transition, have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head is another video that you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Slipknot, forever.